Hi guys, so today we're going to be doing an unboxing video of MTG, and I do happen to have the core set 2019 over here. That one that you've seen is actually a fat pack. I'm going to be doing an actual full booster box today and the fat pack along with it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. So here's a couple of my boosters from the booster box. Just gonna go ahead and start opening up. By the end of the video, I am intending to show you all my rares and mythics. So let's just go ahead and open that. So these are a couple of commons, a couple of reprints. I don't know if you recognize any of them. Let's just go ahead and center that here. Here's some of the, ooh, I love the horses, by the way. I do want to try build a tribal, and there's one of the first rares, Shurkan's Unsealing. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, it deals 4 damage to any target. Whenever a creature spell with 7 or greater, this deals 4 damage to each opponent and each creature Planeswalker controls. So that's pretty good. So I'm just going to put that aside there. Go ahead and get the next one open. All right, so again, we're going through a couple of these. I'm just going to see if I can actually get a clear shot of the text. So that's all right. Elf. This is a uncommon. I'm a big fan of Elf, by the way. Big fan of elves. Reach that touch whenever another creature dies. Each opponent loses 1 life. That's pretty good. You have no maximum hand size. That's good for any draw cards for blue. Counter target creature spell, draw a card. And we have Liliana's Contract. Whenever she enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and you lose 4 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. So that's pretty good. I know I have a friend of mine, Alex, who wants to build a deck with that winning condition. He claims it would be a turn 4 possibly win. Alright, so goblins, bird, vampire, enchantment rhino, monk, enchantment cats. Alright. Whenever enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. So this will be assisting any exile decks. We have the Gargoyle, we've seen that before. An old card, reprint Elf Shaman. And here is my rare. So enchant creature gets +7/+7 and has trample. Expensive mana cost though, so I can't see this being one of the most expensive cards to buy. But then again, with the ramp in green, you never know. Alright, so Titanic Growth. Artifacts. I love the fact that, you can still play artifacts. I love Tezzeret's new abilities. Goblin decks are also a thing now. Alright, so the uncommon. So what you have here is add 1 mana of any color. If you tap 7 in itself, you get to sacrifice this guy and create a 5/5 dragon creature with flying. Exchange control of 2 target creatures. Okay, we've seen that guy in Kaladesh. So we have another rare here. It's enchant creature, enters battlefield, choose a creature. Enchanted creature is a copy of chosen creature. So it's copying creatures, which pretty good if you want to make a 1/1 into like a 7/7. And I have, that's 2 rares in 1 pack. And this is actually a shiny card right there. Legendary creature. Creature spells you control with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. Whenever this guy enters the battlefield, you each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1, getting trampled until end of turn. So basically, that's whenever it attacks. Those are my 2 rares and 1 booster. That's a really good find. And moving on to the next pack. We have so many more to go, guys. Total of 36 boosters. Alright, so let's go through the commons really quick. Hope you can recognize with the artwork. This is one of the good elves, and that's a nice dwarf card right there. With Goblin Shaman, whenever you cast a sorcery, deals 2 damage to each opponent. Creatures you control, okay, so here's my rare. Put a charge counter on this guy, remove a 3 charge counters, and I take an extra turn. So it's pretty good. I mean, if you're the type of person to take extra turns and stuff. Blue-white control, I'm pretty sure we'll see this card being played. Alright, so again, we'll go through the commons really quickly. There's a dragon already. Common card though, another elf. Beast with vigilance, shapeshifter, and there's a battlefield. Okay, so that's basically a copycat of dragon egg. And I have myself a mythic. First mythic, guys, right here. It's a dragon. Costs 5 mana. Flying whenever this creature attacks for each player. Choose target permanent player controls. Those players sacrifice those permanents. Each player sacrifice a permanent this way reveals top card of their library, then puts it onto the battlefield if it's a permanent card. Which I don't get why they had to specify that. I might have just rushed through the card to understand that entirely, but good find. So that's my first mythic of the find. Not bad. Not keeping count of how many boosters I opened so far, so trying to make this a quick video to watch. So those are my uncommons. That's good for milling. Milling is coming back, it seems. And what do we have here? All right. I love the fact that they're removing the they're making extra space for dual lands to be not just commons, but you find them instead of your basic land. Here's my next rare, Spit Flame, 3 mana. It deals 4 damage to target creature. Whenever a dragon enters a battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, you get this guy back into your hand. So that's a pretty good card. I'm really hoping to find at least 2 or 3 planeswalkers in this set of boosters. Again, going through the commons really fast. Okay, here's the uncommon, Nightmare Horror. A drunk creature gets +1/+1, can be blocked. And inside target colorless creature, you gain life equal to its power. It's not a bad card entirely, unless you're playing against an artifact deck. So that's an okay card. I don't know if we'll be seeing too many artifact decks. Right now, red goblins are really taking over the meta. Alright, so whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. The Johnny's Pride Mates, we've seen that in the past. A War Defender, and here's my rare. So, a look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from amongst them onto the battlefield. Put the rest at the bottom of your library at a random order. When a creature is put into the battlefield this way, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature the opponent controls. So that's pretty good. A bit costly again, but again, and we got ourselves a shiny land. That's not bad. Wish I had found something else shiny. And I found also a dual land for those that enter tap, so nothing special there. Moving on. Again, just going through these. Okay, need that. Dragon, sorcery, another horse, and there is our next rare. We have the worm with trample. I'm not sure if you guys can actually see that properly. God, the focus is horrible on this thing. That's the best I can do. I don't know if... That's the best I can do, guys. Sorry. So, worm. Whenever it enters the battlefield, I get to pay. I get to gain 7 life. Whenever it dies, I get to draw a card, and I found myself a shiny, uncommon, the Sphinx. We've seen this card in the past as well. So, moving on. I don't really keep shinies. You know, I don't keep foil cards, to be more technical. Shiny. Alright, so going through the comments. This is a card I love, by the way. Anyone who loves milling, this is whenever you draw a card, opponent... Each time you draw a card, opponent gets to mill his top 2. And here's our rare. Flying, other spirits you control get +1/+1, which is pretty good. And we have also a foil common. That's cool. Not bad so far. Let's go through this really quickly. Another horse. Ooh, now that's a card. Now that is a rare I do want to see being played. Need a play set of him though. Cats. I play cats a lot on MTG Arena. So whenever he attacks, he creates 2 1/1 cat creature tokens with lifelink on the battlefield tapped and attacking. So that's pretty good. Cat tribal decks, which would be around white-green at the moment, are really good until October. Because October, the whole, thing changes. Alright, there's a rare card, Human Wizards. Tap red and tap the creature, discard the card, draw a card, and sacrifice this dude. Deals 4 damage to target creature. Not bad. Alright, so keep playing with the focus on my camera. It's a bit blurred out. Alright, so another mythic, guys, right there. Another Mythic Dragon. So these are something that people are actually chasing after. You can actually build a proper deck around these dudes. So I don't know if this actually helps. So this is where Flying, Vigilance, and Trample. Whenever it enters the battlefield, it has hexproof if it hasn't dealt damage yet. So it's pretty good. Can't be target of spells or ability if it hasn't dealt damage. So I don't know if you want to per se attack with it, making it vulnerable. So prior to damage step, that thing does nothing. You can't do anything to it as a target. Alright, so okay, so there's our shiny common. And we'll just get rid of the rest and just show you the rare. I think that's what people are interested in. So, other knights you control is a +1/+1. Knight you control gain double strike until end of turn if you tap 5 mana. That's a pretty good card. Cost is 4. So, I'll be showing you all of them at the end, as promised. Stack of rubbish is actually starting to grow here. Alright, let's try to keep things there. So I don't think I've reached a playset of any of the commons, or well, uncommons are hard to reach playsets of. Okay, so and here's my rare, a 2/1 Human Wizards, tap 5 to draw 2 cards. So it's pretty good, especially if you want to get the milling concepts go. I really miss core sets. I really do. It was really nice to see that Wizards actually came up with a new core set. I was a bit surprised they didn't continue with Dominaria. Then again, I didn't really follow the story to get an idea. All right, so finally, something I'm going to be fond of: an elf with 2 mana, specifically green. Other elves you control get +1/+1, so that's really important. You can tap 6 and herself to search your library for a card name, Elvish Clankseller. Put it onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. I don't. So basically, you can find her over and over again if you have enough mana. Okay, it's not bad. I mean, the first cast would be 2, but then it's going to cost you 6 to find the others if you have a play set. So let's just go ahead and do this really quickly. All right, so let's go ahead and show you the rare I found in that pack. So this is a dinosaur. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. It's okay. I had a dinosaur deck, which did pretty well, but Mark actually created a scary dinosaur deck when Ixalan was out and Rivals. Alright, so you know what I'm really fond of? It's a good thing that I invest in Magic prior, because most of this is like reprints. By the way, I found a foil, uncommon foil right there. So target player puts top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. So mill is gonna be fun. I know Mark doesn't like milling. For those of you who don't know Mark is, look at my Guild Wars videos, you'll hear him there. Alright, so Mentor of the Meek, this guy came out, I believe, in the last course that we've seen, which was in Origins. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield, you may tap 1 to draw a card. It's pretty good, keeps you getting cards. Especially if you like create a cheap cost deck. So here we go through the other cards. All right. And the next one is a burn card. So you pay X and deals X damage to any target. If X is 5 or more, the spell can't be countered, damage can't be prevented. So basically, if you pay 6, this can't be countered. X being 5, of course. I like burn cards simply because it's direct damage, and the fact that that card says any target helps a lot. I don't think I'm going too fast for you guys to appreciate the art or the cards themselves. Isolate, I think this is one of the... I can't see this replacing Fatal Push because it exiles target permanent with converted mana cost 1. Fatal Push actually removes mana cost 2 or less, and if a permanent were to die on that same turn, it's 4 or less, I believe. So, yeah. I mean, it's not a bad card entirely, it just gets rid of the pretty smooth stuff or the cheap stuff. And that's another pack opened. And here's my rare. So a legendary creature, human knight. Lena, Selfless Champion. Whenever she enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 soldier token for each non-token creature you control, which is pretty good. She's a bit expensive though. That's 6 mana right there. Sacrifice Lena, and you control with power less than Lana, power gain. Sacrifice Lana. Creatures you control with power less than Lana's gain indestructible until the end of turn. So that's an okay card. You can tell I'm not entirely impressed by some of the rares. Although the combination with some of the rares, the mythics I think have more value and the uncommons. And here we have, ooh, that is interesting. So instead of finding a land, you find this guy to represent Bolas. So especially if you're not playing with sleeves, that's pretty good. All right, I'm glad they didn't use it as a token or something. So, all right, so going back to rares, enchant creature is a copy of any other creature that you targeted when you cast this enchantment. I think that's the best rare I've seen from most rares that I've come across. And murder. Okay. So as those of you who have been playing Magic, you're going to realize that there's a lot of reprints. So even if you don't find the cards that you need inside the pack, you can actually just revisit your old ones and just get them out. All right, so here's the Detection Tower. Add 1 colorless. You can tap 1 and tap it. Until the end of turn, your opponent and creatures your opponent controls with hexproofs can be target of spells or ability you control as though they did not have hexproof. That's a lot of text to specify. So that's really good if you have a target which is causing you massive pain because he's hexproof. So you might want to keep it there just in case in your deck. Sideboard it perhaps. And here's an interesting card, a zombie. He's indestructible, which is worse than hexproof if you ask me, because you cannot destroy it, you can only exile it. It's even better if you can't, if it has hexproof and indestructible, because that would be a massive pain. So whenever he enters the battlefield, you may put a counter of whatever that is called on an artifact you control. When you control no permanents with that type of counter on them, you get to sacrifice this dude. So it's kind of good. The only problem is he ends up dying if you have an artifact that left the battlefield with that counter on it. So, and the problem is you need to actually have artifacts to help you out on that regard. And speaking of zombies, my favorite zombie of this pack, I've played this guy in MTG Arena a lot. This is the skeleton dude, the Baron zombie wizard. Basically he gives +1/+1 to other zombies and Death Touch, which makes it really good to have around. If you have a playset of that, trust you me, you're gonna make some serious damage. All right, so I found my second mythic in this pack, ladies and gentlemen. Another dragon skeleton, a flying, exile 7 other cards from your graveyard. I get to return this guy back to the battlefield tapped. Dragon skeleton. I wish it was a dragon zombie. It would have made it so much nicer and cooler with the zombie theme. It's a pity that he is a skeleton. Actually, coming to think of it, because this guy says skeletons and other zombies, so actually it's not that bad, because a really good combo there. Moving on to the next pack. I don't even know how many minutes have gone in here. Trying to make this fast for you guys. I'm so sorry if I seem to be slowing down sometimes. So here's a demon. Finally, we get a demon here. So as an additional cost to cast this guy, sacrifice a creature, flying trample, 6/6 for mana. Pretty good demon. Coming to the end of the box, I've got 4. I've got 5 boosters left, guys. Alright, so you don't know what? I'm just going to rush through these and see if I find any good. Okay, so let's just go ahead and show off the shiny cards, the foil, and show you my rare from the dragon. So, flying, whenever this creature enters the battlefield, deals 5 damage to target opponent unless they sacrifice a creature. So you either offer him something to eat, in other words, or feel his wrath. He is hangry. Hungry, angry, hungry. Get it? Alright, so let's just go ahead and skip through these. I should have just done this in the beginning. I don't know if you guys really wanted to see any of the commons and uncommons, but this is the most, I don't know if I should say pathetic rare I've seen throughout. Don't get me wrong, it's good because it's just 5 forests to cast, and it's a 10/10, but that's all it does. So basically, it's good to drop at turn 3 if you're playing the elves. That gives mana from Dominaria. Alright, so let's just rush through this. Find my rare. There it is. Okay, so the Cleric. Spirit Cleric, 2 mana to cast flying. Sacrifice it to exile all cards from target permanent's player's graveyard. If you're playing based on your graveyard, you are so royally. Alright. And once again, ooh, yes, a card I really wish I had 4 copies of, to be honest. So, whenever you cast an artifact spell, you create a 1/1 Topter with flying. You can sacrifice 2 artifacts. By paying 2, you get to draw a card. One of my favorite rares, something that I love. And unfortunately, no Planeswalker in a whole box, not even one so far. And there's my rare, the Merfolk Wizard. Sacrifice until end of turn. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield, if it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So that's pretty good if you're based on your graveyard. There's a lot of anti-graveyard. I'm really curious what we'll be facing in the next set. So there's a lot of anti-graveyard stuff happening. I know it goes well against Amonkhet. Okay, so I spoke too soon. Found at least one Planeswalker. Shar Khan himself, Fireblood. So, Planeswalker. +1, you may discard a card. If you do, you get to draw a card. +1 at 2 mana in any combination to spend it for casting a dragon spell. And a -7 to create 4/5/5 red dragon token creatures with flying. He is only 3 mana cost, so that's pretty good. I might consider building a dragon deck. That being said, so as promised, here is an overview. That's the last card I opened from my box. The Merfolk, the guy who creates Topters once you cast artifacts. A Spirit Cleric that you get to sacrifice to exile all cards from target player's graveyard. A 10/10 Dinosaur. A dragon that you need to feed it, otherwise it's going to hit you for 5, Mr. Opponent. A demon that needs a sacrifice in order for him to come in. Flying and trample 6/6. Zombie wizards, skeletons, and other zombies you control get +1/+1 and death touch. Speaking of which, here's a dragon skeleton with flying. You can exile 7 or other cards by paying 5 mana cost to get him back on the battlefield tapped. An indestructible creature that needs an artifact in order for him to stay around. A land which makes your opponent's hexproof, removed. Enchant creature, that's a copy of another creature. She comes in and creates a 1/1 soldier for each creature you control. You can sacrifice her for any Other creature 3 or less, or well, depending on its power, less than her, gain indestructible. Deals 5 damage. Deals X damage. If it's 5 or more, it cannot be countered. This guy makes you draw cards. If you cast 2 or less, whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or lands, you get to draw a card. Elf Druid, other elves you control, gets a +1. You can find copies of herself if you pay 6 onto the battlefield. This guy, tap 5, you draw 2 cards. Other knights you control get +1/+1. And knights you control gain double strike until the end of turn if you pay 5. The Mythic Dragon, Flying Vigilance and Trample, has hexproof if it hasn't dealt damage yet. The Human Wizard discards and draws cards. You get to sacrifice him to deal 4 damage to target creature. The cat that basically attacks and creates 2/1/1 white creatures. Other spirits you control +1/+1. The worm, Trample, whenever it comes into the battlefield, you gain 7 life. Whenever it dies, you draw a card. The sorcery that lets you look at the top 7 cards. You may put a creature card from amongst them onto the battlefield. Put the rest at the bottom of the library in any order. Exile target colorless creature. You gain life equal to its power. Deals 4 damage to target's creature. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield, you get to pay 1 to return it back to your hand. Speaking of dragons, here's another Elder Dragon that basically, whenever it attacks, each player chooses a target permanent. That permanent that player controls. Opponent chooses a permanent they control, basically. Those players sacrifice a permanent. Each player who sacrifices a permanent this way reveals the top card of their library, then puts it onto the battlefield if it was a permanent card. Now I understood that card. Okay, so it's kind of a double-edged sword if you do it. An artifact that you get to put a charge counter, then eventually you can remove 3 to take an extra turn. And this guy makes big creatures cheaper. And whenever you attack, it gets +1/+1 and trample. Another copy of the guy that copies other creatures. Enchant creature gets +7/+7 and trample. Liliana's Contract, whenever she enters the battlefield, you draw 4 cards and do 4 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 different demons, you win the game. An enchantment that deals damage directly to a player whenever you cast a creature card 4, 5, or 6 or greater. You get to do direct damage. Human Cleric, remove all counters from target creature. It can't have counters put on it as long as this guy's on the battlefield. Alternatively, opponent loses all counters. A player can't get counters as long as she's on the battlefield. And a spirit that gives other spirits +1/+1. So that's my booster box, guys. Thanks so much for watching that. And I'm just going to be doing another video to open up this beautiful, beautiful box, which is the Fat Pack. Stay tuned. Ciao.